MVP caliber level. You can't take that type of a talent out of an offense and expect it to just continue to roll. But there's one thing I've been talking about on this show a lot, was the fact that I think at some point Carson Wentz, the feistiness about him will catch up. I'm not saying, you know, that he got hurt. It was not his fault. But what I'm saying is this guy was fourth in the National Football League at taking hits, 81 quarterback hits. Russell Wilson's at 99. So when you're built the way he is and he takes the risks that he does, you have to have a great backup quarterback like Nick Foles behind him, because
I spent half the game yelling at the TV for him to throw the ball and get rid of it. Like,
that's just him fighting.
I was about to say, you can't cast a better backup for this team. Here's why. When he was drafted in 2012, his first teacher was Doug Peterson, the head coach. That was his QB coach. And he's talked about this week about the nuances he's learned throughout the course of his career. There's a reason he's a Philadelphia Eagle, because of that relationship first and foremost. And then you look at what he's got around him. You talk about how this team is built. The balance at receiver, forget the run game. I mean, they got 3 running backs, guys, that have 250-plus rush yards this season. That's balance across the board. But you have Alshon Jeffrey, you have Aguilar, Ertz, Torrey Smith. I mean, you're built.
Trey Bird.
You go one way and you can go the other. And that balance, I think, is so helpful for a guy like Nick Foles, who's proved to be good at times in his career.
When this happened, and this injury and then the move to Foles, I said, you know what I'm going to do on Saturday? I'm going to tell people something I've been holding on for a while. Nick Foles almost retired before he went to Kansas City.
No way.
But then on Monday, Reuben Frank of NBC's Philadelphia, sportsphiladelphia.com, I believe I got that
Shout out
right.
Rube.
Shout out to Rube. Stole my thunder because he had an interview with Foles in the can that he never had to do. So he goes, here it is. So Foles admitted he almost retired before he went. And if not for Andy Reid, he would have hung him up, and I get a chance to go reunite with Andy
What brought him back? Just Andy, the chance to play with Andy Reid?
Yeah. That was if there was not another, because leaving the Rams, if there was not an opportunity to go play for Andy Reid, he had to go play for a stranger, would have called it. So now here he is with a golden opportunity. Now the question that we started this on is what does this make them as far as a Super Bowl contender? What I can't get past, Mike Rob, is you take away that special ability. Now you become more of an ordinary, I don't want to say ordinary offense, but a little more that you can control, that unpredictability is gone. And I'm looking at Minnesota. I'm looking at the Rams with Wade Phillips. I'm looking at Carolina. Who else am I missing in the end? Seattle. I'm looking at some really good defenses and really good defensive coaches.
Saints.
And the Saints, and they're going to have to beat 2 of those. 2 of those get the Super Bowl.
But the way that this offense is constructed, I mean, you saw it toward the end of the game last week. They're still running their offense. And when I say RPOs, run pass options,
and they trusted Foles, too, on that third down pass. I mean, they took points off the board. They trusted him. And
he made it happen.
Right. And I wonder, too, now, how much all these guys now are probably going to play through Week 17 just because they didn't have those snaps with Nick Foles this whole season, and that's huge having that. Whereas if they had Wentz in there, they would probably be taking it easy Week 17. So that changes a lot for the entire picture, too.
The defense must step up. Come on, defense.
Right. And, hey, look at this here. Carson Wentz.
We have a comparison.
And Nick Foles, yes. Look, it's 1A, 1B here. And you can see their numbers. I guess Foles, wow, they are really
Except
close.
one has been in the league like, what, 3 or 4 years longer?
We didn't compare him to Brady. We love to compare people to Brady. How come we didn't throw him in there?
Wow. Okay, but hey, look at those rushing touchdowns, though.
I was too busy actually reading the actual board. And then when I heard your question, I was like, oh.
Chiefs are currently the number 4 seed in the AFC playoff picture, but they got to win. A loss would drop them out of the top 6 and put the Chargers in that 4 spot. So, Alex Smith, you better watch out because Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram, they're going to be coming for him.
Yeah, I mean, and these guys, I mean, literally, it doesn't matter whether you chip them, it doesn't matter whether you slide the line to them. They cause you to, they affect your game plan. In the first matchup, you know, they lost to the Kansas City Chiefs 24-10. Phillip Rivers threw 3 interceptions. And the newness of the creativity of the Andy Reid's offense was at hand. Every single time the ball was snapped, those defensive ends and those pass rushers stopped, right? They had to slow down. Now, as we've been talking, the tape is out on Andy Reid. And these teams have gone in drastically different directions.
The tape's out.
The tape is out. And for me, Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram must control the edges of this offense. They must stop Kareem Hunt from running the football. Yes, we know they can get after the passer, but 16 carries or 17 carries for 172 yards the very first matchup, that cannot happen. If that happens, Los Angeles Chargers, you will lose. That cannot happen. You can see that the Kansas City Chiefs are trying to get Kareem Hunt back on track. 16 rushes, 116 yards last week against the Oakland Raiders. If they can control the line of scrimmage, the Chargers, I'm getting mixed up.
The LA team, yes.
The LA team. The Chargers win. If they can't control the line of scrimmage, they lose.
And Corey Luget, too. I mean, like the pressure that he brings inside. I know. Inside. It's like they have such a good defense in all phases.
Well, yeah, I was going to talk about the pass defense, but it starts with those guys because that is obviously a huge factor in your pass defense. I'm going to ask you, how much of Seattle's stuff do you see them?
I see a lot of it. Of course, you got Gus Bradley.
I understand that, but I don't know if these things evolve over time or whatever. But whatever they're doing, that back end is playing with that confidence because you look at the numbers this year. I mean, you've got one team, the Patriots, that threw for 300 yards or more as a team, and since then, the last couple of weeks here, and I'm going to find it as soon as I can, 136, 202, 168, 220, 263. In this league, in this day and age, to keep guys for 5 weeks under 263 and then under 200 2 of the last 3 weeks. And now, if you're telling me that the book is out on Andy Reid for 2017.
Time out a second on Andy Reid, okay? Because there's some different nuances right now with this offense because Matt Nagy took over the play calling back in week 13, guys. That was a game I was at.
I forgot.
And so Alex Smith, I walked up to him on the field, and I talked to him about those nuances. And the way the traffic worked, okay, he was getting the play call from the offensive coordinator, Matt Nagy, but it was a joint decision between Andy Reid, Nagy, and sometimes he said, I didn't even know who was making the ultimate call.
It's a lot of cooks.
It's a lot of cooks in the kitchen, Colleen. So now you have one voice in his ear. It's Nagy. And so over the last 2 weeks, guys, 17 big plays.
Ooh.
Strikes down the field. If you hit the three in basketball, you can play inside. If you play inside, you can hit the three.
Yeah.
And so that's what they're doing. And that's why Kareem Hunt, in talking to people, is back on track because that box, they're not stacking that box now as a defense. It's starting to open back up because he's throwing it down the field.
You're telling me he wouldn't know which voice was it? He couldn't distinguish which voice?
No, he was ultimately, theoretically, the decision was a joint group decision. So
he's always heard one voice.
Right.
And when Doug Peterson was the offensive coordinator, he was hearing from Doug Peterson. He was hearing from Matt Nagy.
He just didn't know who was making the ultimate call.
Exactly. It could be Andy Reid. It could be Nagy. But it's a collective effort. Now it's Matt Nagy making that call.
And you're right, to have to make that call within 40 seconds. I mean, it's tough.
Yeah.
And it's not 40 real seconds. It's 40 seconds that goes by real.
And your head coach is a play caller, so he already in his head has an idea what he wants out of the offense.
Twice as many big shots down the field. When I say big shots, 20-plus air yards. We call them in our research notes. But that's a big difference. You know, he was averaging early, when they were struggling, 4 shots down the field. Right now, it's about 8.
That's a huge difference.
Huge difference.
And then you talk about big plays on the other side with the Chargers and what Phillip Rivers is doing right now with Keenan Allen. First of all, that first half of the Chargers last week, they had 354 yards of offense in the first half. That was an insane number.
I'm hoping Marcus Peters, who's coming back, I hope that he follows Keenan Allen. I'm very interested.
He never really shadowed.
Sometimes.
Okay.
He doesn't. It's not an entire game thing. I don't think anybody in the National Football League follows a guy for the entire game as much anymore without a little bit of help. But I'm interested to see when these guys do get one-on-one because you have 2 guys, 2 prideful guys. Both of them are feisty. Both of them pride themselves of being physical at the line of scrimmage. It's going to be a battle, and whoever wins could tell who wins this game.
Yeah, Keenan Allen, 4 straight 100-yard games. He's averaging like 137 yards a game
Have you seen Phillip Rivers play this? I mean, what he's doing.
He's on fire.
He is. And do you remember early in the season, I sat here, I said there was some talk out there that Rivers commuting was throwing off the flow of the entire. Apparently those concerns were not founded because Phillip Rivers, in studying in that van on his way home.
He has a home theater in there.
Has been able to handle this tremendously and get guys all on the same page. Really impressive.
And buy into what Anthony Lynn is preaching and what he's doing. I think that's very important.
Huge game for them today as they get ready here. The Chargers tweeting this out. Kansas City, here we come.
There it is.
That's the song.
They
you guys
should
know that
already
one?
be there.
You don't know that one.
Today.
That's way. See, I don't know your songs. You don't know my songs.
It's all right. We teach each other here.
Go on the
That's what we do.
You can't say that way before my time.
Before my time too, but I know.
We're talking fantasy.
Welcome in, everybody. I'm Amber Theo Harris and Peyton's teammate for 11 seasons here in Indy. Reggie Wayne, welcome to Thursday Night Football.
Appreciate you. I'm excited.
These fans have been chanting.
We're rocking out here. Oh yeah, we're in the building.
Actually, we're outside of the building.
Steve Smith Sr., good to be back with you again, my friend. And my Hall of Famer on the end there, Michael Irvin. Welcome.
I love this 3 wide.
All right.
I love this 3 wide.
A lot of receivers on set here tonight. And you know what?
This is how you get it done right here. Just want you to know that.
Yes. Who's the #1 receiver, though?
Well, Reggie, I mean, it's a real treat for all of us to have the greatest wide receiver from the University of Miami
Oh yeah, appreciate y'all
here with us on set.
Look at that thing,
Look at that. Hey, look at that, Mike. It looks good.
That is unbelievable.
The guy on the right, Mike. The guy on the right. I ain't talking about the on the left.
Boys right there.
Appreciate y'all having me on.
Hey, that's all right there.
I love that. The University of... Go ahead, touch.
Oh, there we go.
That's the U. That is unbelievable. But you know, it's another guy up here from the U, the University of Utah.
Oh, we forgot.
And let's get those numbers for the University of Utah guy, Steve Smith. So,
Whoa, this is the NFL.
Let's see. Oh, Reggie, it looks like Agent 89.
Hey, you only beat me by 400 yards, man.
Hey, it's 400 more. Agent 89 got both of y'all. Just from the University of Utah. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
Shout out to the Utes.
Yeah, shout out to Utes.
Don't pay for Utes.
Well, Week 15 starts here tonight, but there are big games throughout the NFL this week. A handful of games with playoff implications in both conferences. Home field advantage in the AFC is up for grabs in Pittsburgh. The NFC West is at stake between the Rams and the Seahawks, and a huge game in the AFC West, which we will have for you right here on NFL Network on Saturday. It's Chargers and the Chiefs with first place on the line at 8 o'clock Eastern to cap off our doubleheader. So huge games this week and several teams that have to win to keep their playoff dreams alive. And guys, when we look at the storylines for this week, Week 15, what are the ones to watch for you, Michael?
Well, first of all, the NFL is incredible. You have one team that started 4-0. You have another team that started 0-4. And right here on our network Saturday, both teams sit at 7-6, and they will be playing for first place in the AFC West. That's Chiefs, that's Chargers. It is incredible. The NFL is what they call in a courtroom the people exhibit. It's the ultimate evidence that this is not a sprint, that this is a marathon.
Oh.
Reggie, what are you looking for
that.
in Week 15?
Well, Week 15, it's a lot of stuff going on, right? But you got to look at these guys in Duval County. Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm sorry, Duval. Saxonville Jaguars. These guys are causing havoc, and they're only doing it with their front 4 guys. They're causing pressure on all quarterbacks, and then you got those 2 monsters in that secondary, A.J. Boye and Jalen Ramsey. They play very well. One thing about this team, they're not worrying about the myth. They don't care how many rings you got in the past. They don't even care how bad Jacksonville has been in the past. They're worrying about right now, and right now they got their swag.
And when somebody was messing with them, they said, listen, we understand everybody gets upset. They're not used to being beaten by the Jaguars.
Blake Bortles has a little swag these days. There's swag in Jacksonville.
For me, it's the NFC South, and I think you're going to have an NFC South playoff party. All 3 of these teams now are going to, I believe, going to creep up into the playoffs because there's a few NFC teams that are not holding their weight and not using the momentum going to playoffs. These 3 teams are, and they're bulldozing their way into the playoffs.
I like it. I like it. That's going to be interesting. How many times has that happened where you're 3 teams for one division? I mean, we got to figure that out.
Happened a couple of years ago for sure. We'll get research on that. In the meantime, right now, we are out here getting ready for the Broncos and the Colts, and you cannot tell the recent history. Look, it's Tony Dungy. You cannot tell the history of the Colts without him and without Reggie Wayne, the man to my left, spent 7 seasons with Tony Dungy
And we have
as his
them
head
both.
coach.
And we have them both.
And if you remember, that run culminated in a Super Bowl win. And with that, we say hello to Tony Dungy, Rodney Harrison, and Liam McEwen. Reggie, why don't you toss it inside to your old coach?
Hey, Coach, we need you. Tell us what we need to hear.
That was that dude, right?
Tony's outside, he's inside as well. They were talking about the receivers there. All right, at that desk, take your pick. Who's the best receiver?
I'm taking Reggie Wayne. I know what he did for me.
I'm taking Steve Smith. I know how much he kicked our butt.
No love for Michael.
Steve Smith should be a Hall of Famer, too.
Michael was the man, but he didn't play for me, so he can't be my number one.
Easy choice for you there.
Steve,
All right.
you're a Hall of Famer, man.
Well, let's bring it to the Colts because disappointing season. T.Y. Hilton, their biggest weapon. Here's a guy who led the NFL in receiving yards last season. Why have they struggled to get him going here? Outside of the fact that obviously Andrew Luck is not here.
Well, they don't have many playmakers. The one playmaker they have is T.Y. Hilton, and he's on.